Okay. All right. So let's see where we are. All right, guys. So now we are live. Let me pause a few things because we're getting this kicked off. Good to be back. Good to chat with you for a few. Let's get the volume right. There we go. So it's Colin and myself. Let me put this in a good position that we can see here. Today on the agenda, we're primarily going to talk about two things. One is the upcoming swap that's going to be happening on the 15th, August the 15th. All goes well. If we need to make adjustments, we'll tell you guys if we're making adjustments. But right now, it's tentatively planned for the 15th. We're still doing some test network. We have some go no go decisions that will need to be made this week, and we'll let you guys know what happens at that point once we begin to push out. I know we got some questions earlier in the week on the in the Discord channel about balances on Xchainz. There were some people who were saying, okay, I transferred my LPC to the Xchainz wallet. The wallets are showing, the transactions are showing up in the Explorer, but my balances aren't right. Well, it's what's happening is that as soon as you put your funds or you send your LPC to that wallet, the Xchainz wallet, the staking amounts for LGS, because of what Vlad did before he left, they aren't giving those rewards. But for LPC, you are receiving rewards. You are receiving staking rewards. So your balances are constantly changing because your rewards are staking. And because they're staking every 51 minutes, if you're receiving that if you've received a staking reward, you'll see a transaction in the transaction tab. And I'll just click on one, for instance. Let's do a quick search for LPC. Looking at these transactions, you've seen these different amounts being received, but yet when you look on the Explorer, it's actually taking that amount, that 2,827, and it's staking it, and it's also providing you a reward at the same time, but it's showing the total amount as 2,827, although you're just receiving roughly one LPC. And that's RAL916. Hey, the LGS swap started? No, the swap hasn't started. The swap is scheduled to take place on the 15th of August. On the 15th of August, that's when the swap will take place for LGS and LPC. For those of you, I did put some steps in below. So if you look down in the comment section below, you check the comment section, you'll see that there are several steps, and then I'll just briefly go over those. You create an account at Xchainz or web-02.xchainz.io. Now, once you create an account on the website, then set up your two-factor authentication. Set up your remote authorization by email, so no one can transfer or send out your funds unless you authorize the transfer of funds by email. So, and that's another thing too. We're deciding what the new coin name will be as well. So that's a community issue that we're working through as well. But we're a month out, and we still have a little time to go. But I really want everyone to get the new account on Xchainz. You don't have to put your funds, your LPC and your LGS there just yet, but just create the accounts, your LGS account, your LPC account, and then before the 15th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, that's GMT -5, you'll need to have your coins in that wallet for LPC, LGS, for a one-to-one swap on LGS and a one-to-one swap for LPC. That is, if you have 500 LPC and you're swapping to the new coin, you will receive 500 of the new coin. And this community decided what the name will be at the end of the day. So same thing for, that was LPC, or in LGS, if you have 500 LGS or 1,000 LGS, and you're doing a swap, you will receive 1,000 of the new coin. And at the same time, you get to keep your old LPC and your LGS. Um, so right now, the new coin will be derived from PivX. Will the new coin change the abbreviation? Yes, we will change the abbreviation. Whatever. Let me just say this: if we keep the old abbreviation LPC, we'll need to have a new name that reflects the LPC. So if it's let's say Lumina personal coin or something like that, or illuminated personal coin, or live people come, who knows, LPC, then it's the case that you could keep those initials. But if the name changes dramatically, then it's the case that we will need accordingly update the initials and then actually update on the site. The new name will be determined by the community, RAL. So that's a vote that would need to take place for the community. And we'll coordinate, we have to coordinate that for you guys to be able to vote. So we're looking to do that the last 2 weeks before the swap. So you're talking about from the 1st through the 15th. So we have another 2 weeks before we roll out, before you guys are actually having to decide what the new coin name or what the new project would be. In terms of the focus, now in terms of the focus of the new project, it's the case we want to stay in our wheelhouse. The folks we have on our team, we want to stay within the expertise that we already have with the corporate partners that we have in place. We want to stay in the areas in which they have expertise. For example, last week we showed the press release by Lumina, but then at the same time, they also showed how they were moving forward with expert source using LPC and also transitioning over to the new coin, whatever the new coin name will be. But please take worth of that coin more than $10. I'm not sure if I quite understand you, Raul. We hope to get it to well over $10 in the long term, and that's what we're looking for at the end of the day. A project, and this is not something where it's a 1 year project, 2 year project. I'm looking more at 5 years, 10-year plan. So we want to be in a position where we do maintain value, and that's the main thing that we have to do. We have to create value in the marketplace. We just can't launch a coin and then just expect because we launched a new coin we should have immediate value in the marketplace. We have to have a use case that's meaningful. No, right now, Crypto Bridge, they aren't supporting the swap at this point. So we're going back and forth with them, but right now they're not supporting the swap into the new coin. So and right now we need a name for them to have the new name. So there are a few things we need to have in place before they sign off and give us a thumbs up on them supporting the swap. But at this point, guys, I would strongly encourage you, once again, look down below, and follow those steps. Create your account on Xchainz in the multi-currency wallet. Set up your two-factor authentication. Set up your email authorization. Generate your LPC address. Generate your LGS address. And then before the 15th, before the end of the 15th at 11:59 p.m. That's Central Standard Time. That's GMT -5. Make sure that your coins are actually in the wallet, because we're going to, at that point, disable all sends and receives, take a snapshot, and then once we have the transfer, that will take place in the 24 to 48 hours after the swap. Then we're going to open up both deposits and withdrawals. So you'll be able to have your old coins, LPC, LGS, and the new coin, the coin name to be decided within the next 2 weeks or so. So that's the plan that we have in place at this point. If we have other exchanges that are signing on for the swap, because I know that there are a few projects that subsequently turn to exchanges. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but they have exchanges, and if they support the swap, then will be supported on their platforms as well. So it's a lot of work that we have to do on our side. But for me, my primary focus is us being able to swap over to the new coin by the 15th. Right now, I just had a baby. Well, actually, my wife had a baby. Our family had a baby. So now, so I got sleepless nights. In addition to the coding, in addition to the coordination, but my primary focus is on the coding aspects. But I want to make sure the community is in a position to really not miss out on the full one-to-one swap. So in order to make sure that you guys do not miss out on the swap date that's happening on the 15th, I'll emphasize it now. I'll emphasize it on the next call that we're going to have around the 1st of August. I'll emphasize again, create your account on Xchainz. I put the link below. Check the link below. Set up your two-factor authentication. Generate your LPC address on Xchainz. Generate your LGS address on Xchainz. Send your LPC and LGS to that account before 11:59 p.m. Central Time, GMT -5 for the one-to-one swap. You guys really want to be in a position where you're able to get the full one-to-one swap. At the same time, some people, like I mentioned earlier, we're in a Discord channel saying your balances aren't updated. Your balances aren't updated because it's the case that funds, your balance is there, but yet it's the case when your funds are staking, your balance is not accurate because it's holding the amount that you're staking for 51 minutes in order to receive that staking reward. So just know that when your funds are sitting on Xchainz, it's constantly staking. This is actually for the case for LPC. So your funds are constantly staking at an address, so your balances aren't reflected accurately on Xchainz. But you check the Explorer and check the balances, and your balances will show correctly because of the staking amounts. So with that said, guys, as I mentioned before, set up your accounts on Xchainz. You don't have to necessarily transfer your funds because I know people have masternodes up. But what we do want you to do is set up your account on Xchainz, set up your 2FA, set up the authorization by email so only people can transfer funds out of Xchainz is by email. So yeah, and that's another thing too, being able to have some type of way in which we could have not necessarily a fund set aside to consider the people who had their funds on Cryptopia. So I'm glad you did mention that, Ahmed, about being able to include those people. And I did have some conversations as well initially with some members of the community who did have those concerns. Okay, how are we going to begin to compensate those people who were on who had funds on Cryptopia when it was hacked? So, and my initial thought was being able for them to be able to prove from accounts that they currently own and funds that they did transfer to Cryptopia, because the funds that they transferred to Cryptopia from their own accounts where they do have the private key, then if there were no other transactions to the account where they transferred those funds, assuming that it was Cryptopia, it would not show any transactions from the hack date, which was around January and some change. So it would still need to be a balance reflected in that account. How are they showing ownership of that account? Is through ownership of the last ownership of an account where they do own the private keys, and at the same time there were no other transactions that happened from where they sent the funds on that either LPC or LGS address at Cryptopia. If Cryptopia had been hacked from that point, from around the 26th, 27th, when everything was frozen and shut down and all the transactions were disabled, those accounts would show, or those wallet addresses would show no other transactions. So that's the way we're initially thinking through how we would be able to prove ownership and somewhat compensate the members who were affected by, who had funds on Cryptopia. So that's my initial solution, but then we're still having to troubleshoot that. But like for me, like I mentioned earlier, the primary concern is being able to launch the new coin on time, where you guys have wallets, you'll be able to launch the master nodes, and you'll be able to conduct transactions. And at the same time, we could immediately begin to shift our focus to creating value in the marketplace, not through speculation, pure speculation, where you're just trading. There's a market value, but that market value is primarily driven by speculation. We need to have a value-driven process where we're showing how the coin is being used within business and industry, which is where our focus is leaning more towards now. As I mentioned, as we showed last week, or 2 weeks ago, is where now Lumina currently has a customer in place with the expert source platform that's using LPC. With that said, it's the case there's value in that interaction with that business and with that customer. So now there's a book value associated with the coins, because there's a customer who's purchased an offering which uses LPC. That book value associated with the coin would be different than the market value that's being demonstrated on the exchanges. So just like any company on Wall Street, if you go to Wall Street, you go to look at the Dow, you look at the NASDAQ, or any of the other tech companies on the NASDAQ exchange. Any public company, and not saying that we're anywhere close to being public, but I'm just giving you the analogy of understanding what the book value of LPC will be versus what the market value is. So like in the stock market, there's a market value that's driven by the price per share. But within an organization, depending on the revenue that they're generating, it's the case that they have a certain book value of the company, which differs from the market value. So it's the case that there's going to be two different values of the new coin. There's going to be a book value and there's going to be a market value. We want to drive up as much as possible the book value, and then subsequently we'll see the market value link or sync in with the book value. So that's what we're going to do as soon as we launch, and we have some things in place and we have plans in place where we'll begin to create book value that will align with our market value. We do have and on this plan, we have planned a conference that's going to happen in Washington, D.C. We're going to have a conference in Washington, D.C. on the September 9th and 10th, where we will be talking about the new project, the new coin, because the swap will have taken place, our vision for what we see 5 to 10 years down the line with the new project and the team members that we have in place. So that conference will take place on the 9th and 10th in Washington, D.C. At both of our alma maters in Washington, D.C. at Howard University. That conference, we'll talk about our use cases, because we have to create value. It's no longer just speculating on the exchange and say, ooh, I just hope somebody just buys $40,000-$50,000 worth of LBC or LGS. No, we have to get out of that speculation phase. We need people who are here for the long term, the people who aren't looking for that immediate profit, and those who at any point in time have claimed they've been victims in this entire process, which is kind of ludicrous considering that this is a speculative venture. You guys have gotten this as a speculative venture. It's the case that we had plans to put in place. The team that we had initially, didn't necessarily work out, but now we have a central focus. We have the swap taking place, and now we're pushing forward within the human capital management space with our new project. If people still want to push forward in the supply chain, I'll push off all of my connections within the community who want to do that. Same thing with the ATMs as well. The ATM that we have in office, somebody who wants to push that, I'll send it over to you. It's the case if you want to push forward and still pushing and getting us on ATMs, working with the guys over the or CoinLogic, you can feel free to do that. But our focus is going to stay where we do have strength, where we do have technical capabilities and a solid team to execute, and the business partners who align with our vision in the long term, not necessarily some short-term profit that we're looking for. With that said, as I mentioned earlier, last week or 2 weeks ago, I did the webinar and we talked about how Lumina has moved within the human capital management space using LPC or Light Pay Coin with the expert source platform, where now you're tracking payments and you're tracking assessment data with LPC on our LPC chain within a publishing company. So now it's at the point where we already have value. We have some value already, but now it's just transitioning over to the new chain and competing within the human capital management space, being able to pay contractors, but also at the same time moving as well and looking at the validation of that model of being able to apply blockchain-based applications within human capital management. One of the top players in the space is Workday, and Workday, they just rolled out their solution in bringing blockchain to human capital management, or HR, or human resource function. So when I say HR, human resources, or HCM, that's human capital management, HCM, human capital management. And as I mentioned, or we showed 2 weeks ago, that's where Lumina is ahead of the game already in some of the major players. You'll see the major players like Workday, they're in the alpha phase in using a blockchain-based cryptocurrency. With Lumina, our partners, it's the case that they're much farther ahead than some of the top human capital management players in the space. So if we can be competitive with transitioning LPC, LGS onto the new chain, getting that integrated in with the products, additional products and services within Lumina, we're a major player in the blockchain space in human capital management. And I think that's strong for us, considering some of the steps and missteps that we've had. And we're not perfect, but we're learning, and we're going to continue to push in this space as well. So let me just take a quick pause. And one thing I want to mention again, get your account, look down in the comments section, sign up and get your account so you can LPC, LGS, so you can be able to take advantage of a swap that's going to take place on the 15th. And at the same time, we want to get that pushed out. Looking at the 9th and 10th of September, we're also going to be at the conference in Washington, D.C., a blockchain conference in Washington, D.C. And then at the same time, we want to immediately focus and tell people our vision. And obviously, you guys will have some white papers, some documents to getting more information out to you on how we look forward to executing in this next phase as we pivot. So I'll take a pause, and then I'll turn it over to Colin to see if he has questions or make additional comments as we move along.
Any questions, Ben?
No.
Okay, so let me hop in for a moment here. Okay, guys, so we are about 30 days out from well, it's Monday, July 15th, so 30 days out from the big day. How the big day here? And we talked about last time, when we did that for 21 days, you really start seeing a lot of information being updated, a lot of information being provided about how we're going to do the swap. As Damon mentioned, when we get down to the last 2 weeks, we're going to be focusing on having not a contest, but having an activity where you, the community, can help us vote for the new project name. Again, if you want to keep it at LPC, we need to have a very witty LPC, right? So looking forward to that as well. That should be an enjoyable task. And as we go through the last 30 days, last 21 days, last 14 days, and last week, we hope you guys are finding something enjoyable about this, right? We want to kick off this new way, right? Having fun, right? We're doing a lot of work. I know a lot of you guys are very frustrated. A lot of you guys are very focused on what we're doing, but we want to make sure that we're having fun as much as we can, right? We want to make this transition enjoyable and really kick off the next phase in our business under a very positive light. So again, the next few weeks you see a lot of information being transmitted. Again, if you guys have questions, continue to post those in Telegram, post those in Discord. As Damon mentioned, he just had a new baby. Congratulations, Damon! Last week. I've been on some personal things this past week, so I have not spent as much time in our community boards, Discord and Telegram, but I am back now. So please continue to submit your questions, and I'll start getting back to those questions later on today. If though you do have something urgent, you can always email me, and I should be able to get back to you with an email within 24 hours. So there are several different avenues again to submit information. I do want to do another call for volunteers. Well, actually, let me take a pause here and really thank our team of moderators. They've really been doing a good job, especially over the last week. We have Silver, we have Panda, and we have Konima. Thank you guys for stepping up. Guys, we need some additional moderators. We need some other folks who have talent in marketing. I think I did post some requirements or skills that we're looking for in some volunteers. Again, guys, as we're building a business, a big part of supporting early business, especially in the blockchain space, especially in the cryptocurrency space, individuals who come in to really volunteer and add value. As you know, our challenge is being able to pay for services. Right now, we don't have a treasury to pay for services. So we really need to have volunteers who will come in and really volunteer their time and their ideas. A lot of times you guys listen to a lot of questions. Submit questions on what we should do, but also submit some solutions also, right? We need guys and girls, step in and really help us take on some roles, especially prior to the August 15th date. Want to also mention again, as David mentioned, if you have an opportunity now, go ahead and go into the Xchainz platform and create your account. You don't need to transfer any coin over, but at least create your account. It gives us a good idea of the bandwidth we have as far as the number of accounts. So go ahead, create your accounts, and that'll help us to have an idea of how many accounts we need to have set up by the 15th. Okay, that's all that I have. Again, guys, we are getting very excited. Not very excited. We're getting down to business. We have 30 days from today to make the swap. Again, you'll start seeing a lot more information coming down the pipe. Again, we need you, the community, to be more proactive in volunteering and also really stepping up and taking on some key roles within the team here. Okay, Damon, back to you.
And thanks, Colin. At this point, guys, once again, I really want you to be in a position to take advantage of the swap, the one-for-one swap. So, once again, read down in the comment section below. If you hadn't created your account already on Xchainz, please do so. I'll read the steps again. Step 1, just go to the link web-02.xchainz.io. Set up your two-factor authentication. Generate your LPC address for Xchainz. Generate your LGS address for Xchainz. Send your LPC and LGS to account before 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on the 15th for the one-to-one swap. I'll go ahead and edit that where it makes sense so you guys will be able to take advantage. And we'll be resubmitting our applications with our new focus, our new use cases, to all the previous exchanges where we were. So we'll have to go through that listing process again. So that's where we are on that point. So Bittrex will be on that list. Cryptopia, going all the way up the line. We've been a few other exchanges have reached out as well, but we haven't had the funds in the treasury to be able to list. So we're going through that process all again, but it's with the merged LGS, LPC, and the new focus within human capital management. So that's where we are, and I do appreciate your time. put your questions and your comments down below. And just feel free to reach out to me. One of the best ways reaching out to me is actually on LinkedIn. So you can get to me through my LinkedIn account. I'm hardly ever on Discord because I'm programming most of the time, and I'm a little bit exhausted because I'm running like a few missions here with trying to build a family and actually building a new community here again as well. So appreciate your time, guys. Let me know if you have questions. Please feel free. But I do appreciate you guys sticking with us along the way. This has been a difficult process for some, exciting for others. And this is for some of you guys who want to step up. You know, some folks like Monday morning quarterbacking. They like talking about things after it's happened. But this is an opportunity because, as I mentioned before, I said it from day one. I'm here from the beginning, and I'll be here through the end. So I don't see this as a short-term venture. We're only a year. This is like a year and 1 month, a year and 2 months. We made some missteps in the beginning, and we apologize for that in terms of not having the team as organized as we should have been, or the communication channels as they should have been as well, or having the team as coordinated. We had some factions, but that's a part of the process. My background being in I&O, industrial and organizational psychology, there are several phases that a team goes through. It doesn't matter what the team is, and you've probably seen it in a wide variety of communities. There's a new project, there's a new community, they're excited, and then they form. You're talking about the community members, you're talking about the members who are on the development team, members on the marketing team. And once they form, and then at the next phase in the team, the team life cycle is forming, and then they storm, and then they storming. That is where there's a lot of conflict. There's a controversy. There are breakups. That's a part of the process. You form, you storm, and now we're going through a process where we're attempting to make some norms and put some norms in place for our new team, building out and moving forward. And then we're actually performing. So it's you're forming, storming, norming, performing, and then that last stage, which I don't expect to get through for the next maybe 10, 15, 20 years, is maybe the adjoining stage or the ending stage. But we'll take it one step at a time. Any new partnerships in China just yet? I'm not quite sure. I know Colin has had some interactions with some of the exchanges in China that we've listed on, but for me, my main focus has been getting up the new chain. So I don't know if Colin, if you wanted to address that at all.
Yeah, I've been contacted by a number of exchanges in Asia that want to do some partnerships, but partnerships are really listing. The challenge here is you have a lot of blockchain or actually cryptocurrency exchanges that are based somewhere in China or in other parts of Asia that, quite frankly, are shady. When we talk about partnerships, as David talked about earlier, we want to go with organizations that are core to our strength. So partnerships right now, to me, are not with exchanges. Partnerships are with businesses that want to utilize our blockchain, right? So as far as partnerships at the time, no. But I think that as we get more mature in being able to package what we're doing and communicate what we're doing clearly, those partnerships, I think, will naturally, organically come up. I think, though, those will mainly be in other parts of Asia, such as Singapore, such as Vietnam, such as, well, mainly Singapore and Vietnam. However, China is still a little interesting to work in due to the regulations and whatnot. But as those come up, I think those will come up over the next few months as we're able to package and really communicate what our proposition is.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, if you get a chance, man, if you hadn't already, man, click the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, click the thumbs down. It'll tell us why we click the thumbs down. At the same time, share this. Begin to tell people who you know who are in the community who may not have been as active. Just go ahead and begin to spread the word that, you know, in another 30 days, the swap will happen. The swap will happen on August the 15th. The swap will happen. So get your account on Xchainz. We only have about 210 people so far. I understand there are about 2,000 or so master nodes hanging out on the LPC side, maybe 500 or so on the LGS side. But those won't come over. But at least if you're a Masternode owner, switch over now and make sure that you at least have your account, everything in place. Don't set it up at the last minute. Don't learn how to set up your two-factor authentication at the last minute. Don't learn how to set up your email authorization at the last minute. It's a mobile-friendly web wallet, multi-currency web wallet, where you could easily just take advantage and be in a position to get the swap, the one-for-one swap for the LPC LGS. And I think, once again, thank you for your time, guys. Love you for being a part of the process. And then let's move forward. All right, take care, folks.